Lost in space and time for over 10,000 years, on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
Terms of service.
Oh.
And so much more.
I think we're live.
And
Oh,
so
I'm
much
going to turn my
more.
headphones back up now because I turned them down. Hello?
Because what Aaron was saying was so horrible.
Oh, goodness. I can't believe it's Wednesday.
You won't be able to find me on HBO Max anymore.
What? Welcome to the Comic Shop.
I
has
have
a
no idea
podcast.
what is going on.
Does a podcast. Garen, you're the host.
I am?
I don't know.
Who said that? Okay.
Oh,
Alex did.
You're welcome to join us here at the Comic Shop Does a Podcast again.
Again.
The first ever Comic Shop doubleheader thanks to Twitch being down on
Hey.
August 24th, 2022.
I remember it well. Never forget.
Never forget.
And never forget when the lights went down on Twitch.
Yes.
And I guess they're back up, so that's wonderful. So I'm Aaron Z. Lee, a.k.a. the Jade Giantess.
And I am Evan Coy, single green female, and we're here with special guest star
Jessica Walters.
Jessica Walters.
Wait, were you in Arrested Development?
No, I was in Doctor Strange.
I
TV
like
movie.
this angle. The camera
Oh.
is totally askew,
Oh.
but actually, I like the framing of that. We're just going to keep it as
Yeah,
is.
that's pretty good. And we can put something on the TV there. So, like, we can just go over to Martin. He's just, like, watching TV while we're doing the
Can I watch
podcast.
TV?
Yeah.
That'd actually be something interesting
Oh,
to do
jeez.
for the next hour.
Oh, so we're here today to talk about She-Hulk. We tried to talk about She-Hulk yesterday, and that was Alex. Alex is in the peanut gallery today. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm great.
Thanks for joining us in the distance.
Again,
I'm in the distant past.
this episode not sponsored by French's Classic Yellow Mustard. 40% more. French's Classic Yellow Mustard.
She-Hulk. So we're here today to talk about She-Hulk. We watched the first episode. We did not watch the second episode. Martin wouldn't let me. But I guess, do we want a little background on She-Hulk first, or?
We could do a little bit of that. So I think in the early days, the Hulk TV show was successful, the first successfully adapted property for Marvel that, it went beyond its pilot and like a couple sample episodes.
Did not go direct to video.
Did not go direct to video, got a little bit of a following, got a little bit of popularity. So once that took off, within comics, there are derivatives. So things like Marvel Boy, which was or Marvel, right? Is that Marvel Boy was Shazam? Or Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel was Shazam. So there's lots of these derivative names where you have names at one company that cross over to another company, and different companies own different derivative names of whatever that term might be. So in an effort to protect themselves, Marvel created the She-Hulk so that the people who own the TV show couldn't also make a She-Hulk.
Like they
they
did
had
with Bionic Man, Bionic Woman type situation.
Yes. So they're trying to protect
So
themselves.
I didn't get the Bionic Man, Bionic Woman. Why was that a threat to the Hulk?
Just because if the TV if the TV producers
Just look at your framing. too.
Created-
I think I like that.
Okay. I don't know what it's supposed to be. The TV producers, if they created a character, that then becomes their character. And if Marvel wants to do anything, they've got to license it back type situation.
So you but I guess I just don't understand what it has to do with Bionic Man, Bionic Woman.
Well,
But I-
Because they saw that happen, that Bionic Man was very popular at the time, and so they spun it off to the Bionic Woman.
I'm so dumb.
So then it would
Yeah.
lead to believe that there's a possibility that Hulk is now as popular as Bionic Man, so there could be a She-Hulk series.
Yeah, because I
down
guess
the
you
road.
can't have a Hulk owned by CBS.
Right.
Did you see that Lou Ferrigno was recently inducted as an honorary policeman in Syracuse?
Syracuse, yeah, it was like the last
I
couple
did see
days.
that. It's fine, I guess.
Adjacent.
Hulk
Yeah.
adjacent.
Good for Lou. Still doing it.
How old is Lou Ferrigno?
70,
Yeah.
I think. Looks great for 70.
So yes,
I mean,
I'm going to read the Wikipedia just because you guys summarize it so well. She-Hulk was created by Stan Lee, who only wrote the first issue. I found this was interesting. He was the last character he created for Marvel until his return in 1992 with Do you remember?
Ravage 2099,
Ravage 2099.
a classic.
An absolute dumpster fire of a book that
Which we'll talk about in a future episode.
Ooh, yeah, we'll do a Ravage episode.
10-year-old Evan was so excited that Stan Lee was coming back to write a comic that he hadn't been at Marvel in over 20 years. And man, that book stunk to high heaven. But anyway,
It looked
the,
nice.
The reason of the character's creation had to do with the Bionic Woman television series. Marvel was afraid that shows might suddenly introduce a female version of the Hulk. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put that together. That okay, like the creator of the Bionic Man loses. Like you can't have that with a Marvel character. That's insane. Fictional character created by Stan Lee and John Buscema. She first appeared in Savage She-Hulk, dated February 1980. Walters is a lawyer who, after an injury, receives a blood transfusion from her cousin, Bruce Banner. A slightly different origin story than the She-Hulk TV show.
Just kind of accelerated.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you got Hulk in my
The
my
80s,
blood.
The 80s Hulk cartoon had it that way, and I think the 90s one involved Doctor Doom somehow with Banner
Yes.
blood, if I remember.
Yes.
I couldn't watch the whole episode because I couldn't stand
was
the voice
bad.
talent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of She-Hulk or
I didn't like the She-Hulk voice. I didn't like the Doctor Doom voice. I didn't like the leader voice. It was just grating on
the
me.
leader voice is very grating. The other ones were just fine.
They were
I
not.
thought in the Hulk
You were
cartoon,
wrong.
but I digress.
But I digest. So She-Hulk. Actually, interesting thinking about the origin.
The origins.
The origins of She-Hulk in the TV show, that was a little corny or a little quick, but I also feel like we don't need a long, big, drawn-out origin story. Like, let's just turn her into She-Hulk and let's go.
Yep.
Oh.
oh, hi.
You're breaking the fourth wall. Actually, Alex is breaking our fourth wall. We're acknowledging...
Yeah. Doesn't She-Hulk also break the fourth wall in the new show?
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
she copies Deadpool that way.
Trolling hard or hardly trolling?
Actually, and I like the way that she breaks the fourth wall with the Hulk there, and it's just like she turns to the camera as an aside and makes a remark, and Hulk immediately kind of whips his
two
head
of them
around
look
like,
back,
what
yeah,
do you like? Who are you saying that to? But it's not really acknowledged, and it's just like because you would do it with your buddies, just like, oh, can you believe this? And I'm like, what, huh? But She-Hulk.
Yeah, so She-Hulk in the original form in the comics was Savage She-Hulk, which operated very similarly to the Hulk. When she got upset, would turn into a less eloquent version, more angry version of herself.
Do you have a comic of that?
I did see one over here, but I had some scissors on me and I just started cutting it up.
No, that was past Aaron.
Yeah, I made a collage out of.
Hey, let's go
some
look at
previous
an old
images of
She-Hulk.
Savage
Let's throw it on the doc cam here.
See how
throw it down there.
innovative and
Put it on the French cam.
truly the French cam.
We've got our She-Hulk pop here too. You can't see her. She's got to be out.
She's a bobble pop.
Less breakable than the statue we could have had.
Baby bobble pop. What? Oh wow, the She-Hulk strikes back. Look at that wonderful.
Oh, I can look.
newsprint
I can
paper.
paper phone here.
Oh, look at those rounded rectangles. This must be Jim Shooter era, right? Look at these nice 6-panel
Jim
grids.
Shooter
Yeah,
would have
they-
been 80, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 80s, yeah.
Is this Jim Shooter actually in the comic? Is he the villain?
Could be.
Ooh, Camp Cook kit. These ads back then are amazing too. I just
Give me
love
some
all
of
that
those
stuff.
Whoppers.
Look at this. It's just more ads. Because why not?
It's a lot of ads.
Yeah. Ooh, Kawamp. Kawamp.
Across an entire
There's a
third of a
Kawamp
page.
on the second page too.
Wow, 2 Kawamps. 2 Kawamps, 1 issue. What a bargain. And this was
They had a
only
sale, apparently.
40 cents. 2 Kawamps. That's what you want out of your Savage She-Hulk.
That's like 30 cents a piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to call back to the podcast we did about a half an hour ago. The page layouts in this are kind of boring. They're very standard. They like none of the fun and zip of a Nick Cognetti. This is a page layout that I would design.
Who was the
because-
artist on that particular issue?
Ooh.
I don't know.
This is a Gene Colan house ad. Ooh, that's really nice. Let's get a good look at that. Gene Colan. If you're playing the comic shop drinking game at home, that's a shot because I said Gene Colan. Now it's 3 shots because I now have said Gene Colan's name 3 times. That's 4 times now, so 4 shots.
Who is drawing this book? Can we go back to?
Illustrated by Mike Vosberg and Cheek Stone.
it
So
says
so
all
pretty
the-
pretty good.
Okay, so
pretty good art team.
Good job on the insulting there. With their boring layouts and
Well, I mean, they're telling
Well,
a story.
I only said that because they're not very good.
Ooh, a Hostess
All
fruit
but the
pie.
first issue of Savage She-Hulk were written by Anthony David Kraft and penciled by Mike Vosberg. Most issues were inked by Frank Springer. I do not recognize Frank Springer's name. Vosberg later remarked, "The oddest thing about the book is that Frank and I drew really beautiful women. Frank drew beautiful women.
Just one.
I drew beautiful woman, and yet She-Hulk was never overly attractive. The Savage She-Hulk lasted until 82, where it ended with issue 25. She-Hulk then made guest appearances in other books. Her earliest guest appearance followed no specific storyline besides her having reoccurring bad luck with automobiles. Don't remember that either. Bad luck with
It's a
automobiles.
little bit before your time, I think.
Frank Springer, best known for Dazzler and Nick Fury.
Dazzler makes sense.
I loved that book.
Dazzler?
And Nick Fury. It was a crossover book that they did.
Oh wow, it's an update of Strange Tales, Dazzling Tales.
Yes, Dazzling Tales.
Dazzling
Featuring
Tales.
Nick Fury.
Hello,
and
Marvel.
Dazzler.
No, you need to keep that one for yourself. That's a good.
Okay.
That's a good like.
You could probably buy Dazzler for about $7 from.
Do you think so?
From Disney, yeah.
Okay, here's another aside for you. So when you're a 10-year-old boy and you're playing the side-scroller X-Men game, your first pick wouldn't necessarily be Dazzler, but when all the other ones get taken, you look at her power versus Colossus's power, essentially the same one, and guess who's a little bit faster? Dazzler. Dazzler, unsung hero of the X-Men side-scroller video game.
He even got bullied. yeah.
You're not. You're not. You're just not. But I do love that you knew exactly that sound, which is it's a beautiful thing. I miss that game
If
every
only
day.
we could hear that sound here at the comic shop on a daily basis.
We just need to get it modded somehow.
Fail.
So
just need a mod.
we're gonna go further down this rabbit hole that has nothing to do with She-Hulk. I promised Martin last year that I would buy an X-Men arcade game before the end of the year, and everybody I contacted that did not have that had one listed for sale did not have one. Alex,
The best part of it is we just mod it into a cabinet, and then we figure out how to change the sprite, and then you put She-Hulk in place of Colossus, even if it's only like 2 frames of animation.
Can't.
It's just like
can we-
equal pay for equal work.
No, can't we replace Dazzler? Why do you got to get rid of a male character?
Because that's what they didn't fit.
Telling ya.
Pretend Colossus She-Hulk, then pretend Dazzler She-Hulk.
Well, I do believe She-Hulk appeared in a comic replacing a male character, and at the time, I believe it was quite well received.
Yes,
Am I
it was,
correct?
Yes, right after Secret Wars, she joined up with the Fantastic Four because the thing was being not the thing.
That's how you get back on topic.
There you go.
yeah, what was her? I'm gonna say not very memorable run in the Fantastic Four.
Not very.
No,
I don't remember. I mean, I
It
know
was, it was John Byrne on
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, right?
All right, so
and
maybe I'm-
I think that he's like one of these top 5.
explain that because I guess I don't remember that. I just remember seeing her with a 4 on her shirt, and that's kind
That's
of
what
it.
she did when she was wearing her shirt.
Well,
There were some issues with that too.
I guess we'll get there.
What do you mean? What issues with her shirt?
Those were just
When she was wearing a shirt, there are times when she was not wearing a shirt.
and there were photographers.
Yeah, they kind of
That was one of the stories.
pushed the
Yeah.
for FF. Or
That was
for,
an FF. I'm pretty sure that was FF. Was when yes, she was sunbathing and some photographers got some pictures, and then there was a whole thing on that.
There's probably a movie that's kind of like that or something.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of that going on from the 80s into the early 90s, maybe even into the mid 90s, but I think that kind of cooled a little bit.
But before Fantastic Four, she was in Avengers.
Oh yeah, was that John Byrne and Buscema?
Nope.
No?
That was probably didn't write that down. No, I didn't write that down.
I don't remember.
Roger
what it was either.
Stern, maybe.
Yeah, it's the only book I don't have a thing of.
No, I'm just guessing. I of course am 100% right. It was definitely Roger Stern and John
Yeah,
Buscema.
we don't
Do we have that information sitting right here?
we,
on
do,
the
we
side?
don't fact check
we don't
on
fact
this
check
show.
anything on the Comic Shop podcast. So what is said is factual.
We're just gonna will that into existence. But she was in the Avengers. She was in Fantastic Four, and she got a decent following from being in the Fantastic Four with John Byrne and
The
yeah.
John Byrne stuff is very. It's weird. I don't know why I'm so amped up about the She-Hulk TV show. I find her to be a very fun character, and I
Yes.
do like the fact that, like, breaking the fourth wall, like, kind of copying Deadpool, I guess, like Martin said. But
just have an open wound. You just keep thumbing into that open wound, huh?
What was his thing first?
but it's she has a series right now, but it's not like she's a big character. She's more of
She's pretty tall.
well, she's 6'7", I believe. But she's kind of a B-list character for
Oh,
me.
yeah,
And I feel
definitely.
like we've gone through Moon Knight, which to me, I have more
Another B-list character.
I have
and
more
maybe lower
an
at
interest in
times.
Moon Knight as a Bill Sienkiewicz thing.
Oh yeah.
What other ones have we had? I don't know. For whatever reason, She-Hulk
Hawkeye, you haven't
has
watched
me
that. you
has me
haven't watched-
jazzed
yeah.
up. I think that like it's a nice fresh take on some MCU stuff. I think there's some very interesting things that they can do with the character.
Well, she's also whenever she comes into something, she mixes things up a bit because she's a lighter character, so she can come into any of these guest books that we've seen, and so you get a little bit. I think that like maybe subconsciously we're all like, oh, she's fun. This is going to be a fun show.
Yes.
We just kind of woke up to
Sneak
that.
the mic just a little bit closer to your face. Not much. It's fine.
Is that good?
Now you're too close.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about the TV show, or do we want to?
Well, we got some more comic stuff.
Yeah, let's do
comic
comic stuff.
That's true. So, yeah, go ahead, Martin.
So, Mark Grunwald, big, huge Marvel guy, editor, writer. He was in charge of getting a second She-Hulk series going. So he talked with John Byrne and said it's got to be different. It can't be what came before. So John Byrne came up with the idea of let's make it a comedy. She knows she's in a comic book. Let's run with that, and he did.
Acknowledge is actually that not only does she break the fourth wall like Deadpool, that's an acknowledged power that she has.
Yeah.
That's actually it's not just a comedic gag. That's one of her powers.
And he was told to run with it. There was the sensational She-Hulk premiered in one of the Marvel graphic novel series. I can't remember if there was a specific name to that one. Then he started writing. He wrote for 8 issues, but unfortunately, there were some problems with editorial, which he is notorious for.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, the person editing the book, who he doesn't name when he says it, I found it out later that it was Bobby Chase.
Bobby Chase is a big name.
There was
She still works at DC.
Dwayne McDuffie I believe, was doing something She-Hulk Ceremony, which
Yes.
was a mini series.
It's collected in a book out front.
Oh, excellent. And John Byrne was asked to give notes on this to make sure that it lines up with his series. And not only were all his notes ignored, but the editor started shifting some of his content to match the Ceremony miniseries. And when he went to the editor-in-chief, they're like, I'm not going to be a Jim Shooter. I'm siding with my editor, not the talent, no matter what. So John Byrne left. And
He did circle back though on that book.
yes, he came back.
Issues 31 through 46, then issues 48 through 50 were also written and drawn by John Byrne.
And then he restarted Sensational She-Hulk. And came back.
Yes.
Creator of Howard the Duck.
Steve
Steve
Gerber.
Gerber.
Yeah, he was writing for a little while because the Marvel editorial felt that his Howard the Duck book was the most similar in tone and style to She-Hulk, and
That's
so he
a-
was
That
giving
makes sense.
I was going to
think.
say that's a weird one, but I get it. I get that.
And there was supposed to be a She-Hulk movie, which I think Evan has some stuff on, that was supposed to happen, but was canceled in part due to how bad Howard the Duck the movie did. So there's a lot of interconnectability right there with the two characters.
You know, for the time, the Howard the Duck movie was not as bad as heralded.
Bad, but to this day, I still don't think Howard the Duck Marvel.
Yeah.
I think,
Right.
Oh, this was kind of a weird movie about a duck man.
Totally an 80s thing, though.
Well, we're going to sidebar again. So in the mid 90s, there was an effort made by Steve Gerber to reclaim his property, reclaim Howard the Duck. So there was a book he was doing at Marvel, like a one shot with Howard the Duck, and a book that he did with Eric Larson at Image, where Eric Larson,
Never heard of him.
yeah, he's a hack, where the plan was he was doing this book for Marvel, so they made an interdimensional scene that happened in the Marvel book and the Image book.
Right.
And the Destroyer Duck character from the Image book was placed in the Marvel universe, and Howard the Duck was taken out. But none of this was run by Marvel ahead of time. So it was like his secret plan to actually kidnap Howard the Duck and make him, take him back to his, which obviously, legally he has no recourse. But I always thought that was a brilliant way of they're going to do a one-shot book. I'm going to do my own one-shot book, and then I'm going to have this scene where we swap characters, and I get to keep my character again. So I always thought that was a very brilliant way of like stealing his property back by doing this Image comic that had another Duck character, and really they just swapped Duck characters, unbeknownst to Marvel. So
What mega corporation owns Howard the Duck now?
Disney?
There's a nice lawsuit over Howard the Duck from Disney.
And they just
back in
ended
the
up
day.
owning it anyway.
Yep.
What was the lawsuit?
That Howard the Duck infringed on
Okay.
Donald
Duck.
Duck.
Yeah.
That
To
is
the point
what-
where Steve Gerber changed him into a mouse for a little while just to stick the knife in a little bit.
That's what I miss
love
about
it.
like because Marvel is just owned by Disney, and it just by its nature, it's more corporate now. I love that stuff where like it's the biggest comic company or whatever, but they can be what's the word? Not subliminal, but it's more subversive. with their content.
And Howard the Duck was immensely popular at that time too, even running for president.
And he even wore pants.
Running for president?
Yeah, there was a whole president. I don't remember which year it was, but yeah, there was a whole thing where he was popular enough to almost be considered.
Was it with Carter?
Yeah.
Probably? Well, let's just say
One
it
of those.
was, 'cause we
yeah,
don't
it's Carter.
fact check. We
Yeah.
don't fact check.
Yeah,
It was Jimmy.
Alex is not on Google right now.
He ran
trying to-
against Jimmy Carter.
But yeah,
That's I didn't know that. Howard the Duck is a weird. Maybe that's a podcast at some point.
Howard the Duck.
because like
Yeah.
it's such a weird, unique character that, like to your point, Alex,
Great
like,
art on that
doesn't
thing too.
It's not a Marvel character to me.
What? I mean, not to keep derailing your thing, but like there was only recently like a very short Howard the Duck run. They made like one pop.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then he made like the small splash in the movies.
The Guardians, I think.
There
Yeah.
was the end credit scene,
Mhm.
and then like one aside in another.
Was he in What If?
Guardians movie.
He might have been in What
I'm
If.
not
I don't
sure.
remember.
Martin,
I didn't watch all that.
What if, though?
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the She-Hulk movie that never happened, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
I don't really have because you seem to know more about this.
Oh, I
than
just knew
do.
that it was existed.
But apparently there's an attempt made. I'm going to read my notes. There was an attempt made by director Larry Cohen back in the early '90s to bring She-Hulk to the silver screen. Originally, she was supposed to appear in The Death of the Incredible Hulk. However, they decided to put it aside and make an ABC spin-off movie. They were going to cast Bridget Nielsen as She-Hulk, which I mean, I love.
Their loss is Celebrity Rehab's gain or something.
Yeah, and there was even talk of bringing back. Who was the Hulk in the TV series?
Bill Bixby
Bill
and
Bi-
Lou Ferrigno.
Bringing, even though they had ended with the death of the Incredible Hulk, they were going to bring them back potentially for this She-Hulk one-off. Which I don't know. I
Didn't it say something about they weren't even related in this movie version?
that I don't know.
Probably.
Or maybe I read that someplace else.
Yeah,
That caught me off guard. I
Because
didn't know
back
that.
then the rights get so garbled that like you could get a thing, but it couldn't be connected to anything else that it was popular for. So weird.
Yeah, just interesting that according to the supposed draft, they would have revolved around Jennifer Walters' decision to become an assistant district attorney. Jessica, due to the trauma of losing her parents as a kid. After vacation, she runs into Banner, revealing that he faked his death, and now is living a calm life, taking care of pools. So they apparently
Taking
are not
care
rel-
of pools?
taking care of pools.
Oh,
He's
they
a
said
pool-
poodles.
he's a poodle boy.
Oh, poodle.
They
Breeder.
apparently like each other too, and are determined to be unrelated in this. Appear to be unrelated in this adaptation. Well, I hope they're unrelated if they like each
Oh
other.
my
but
God.
that's neither here nor there. But
I'm glad they never made that.
but I digest.
Maybe they're Skywalkers.
Do we want to talk about the TV show?
Yes, definitely.
Talk about the TV show, Martin.
It's on Disney Plus Thursdays. There should be a second episode that we haven't watched yet because Evan wouldn't let me.
I wanted to watch it.
I had to shop in bulk for my family, so I couldn't watch it.
You didn't shop in Hulk.
I did not shop in Hulk.
That on
Hulk doesn't provide diapers and wipes. But maybe he could.
You could.
Incredible bulk.
Yeah, the Hulk could be doing a lot more to provide goods and services to the general public.
Martin, talk about the TV show.
So there's this TV show Thursdays on Disney Plus. It's about She-Hulk. She copies Deadpool and breaks the fourth wall.
Jessica Walters.
That's all I got. That's
We're gonna
I-
make
I, didn't,
Aaron-
even- I didn't even. I pretended to watch it. I wanted to seem cool.
We're gonna make Aaron lose his mind. I thought it was. Aaron, what were your thoughts on the show?
I had a lot of fun. I have read the John Byrne run, so I was familiar with the character through that, and I know the character had done some other stuff too. Like I know the Dan Slott
Yeah.
run people really like, and I will read it at some point. But there's just so much
I'll
of the
take it
John
home.
Byrne stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just borrow it.
Okay. But I had a lot of fun with it. I also love Mark Ruffalo's take on the Hulk, and we get more of him as the Hulk that in a sustained way than we have maybe ever before.
I
'Cause-
didn't realize that Martin explained this today. That the reason he hasn't had a solo movie is because Universal still owns the rights to that.
I think that
And
is.
that's-
I
and
think
that's why
that
he
has
just-
changed.
I think it's changed recently. Yeah.
Okay.
But as of like Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
All the more surprising because Universal is notorious for not releasing rights to
Anything.
under any circumstances.
Yep.
Well, I mean, do you want to make money or not?
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Do you want some of that Avengers money or no?
Yeah, but we get Tatiana Maslany. I mean, it can't be understated how great she is in
She's
this role.
excellent.
In my opinion, she's a phenomenal actress. She won several Emmys for the sci-fi series Orphan Black, where she played like 4 or more characters all the time, and did a convincing job convincing you that each character was a separate person. And she's done a whole bunch of different things. She was in Woman in Gold, which is about the Gustav Klimt painting.
HBO Max's Perry Mason,
Mason.
which is what I know her from.
Yeah, so very very likable actress. At least I know her to be likable, and like she's kind of plucky a little bit. She kind of reminds me of Amy Adams as like Lois Lane, where you can't help but root for her a little bit. This is my interpretation.
She definitely grabs your attention on the screen
Yes,
in a good way.
yes, and her relationship with Bruce is great. I mean, they're cousins, but
It's
it feels
like
it feels
brother,
like
sister,
yeah,
or
it feels like
sibling
it feels like a
rivalry, yeah.
sibling thing, and that's great. I mean, there's so much that goes on with that. Like you can tell that they care about each other. So like Hulk's not going 100%, like
Yeah, yeah.
in this fight
the
thing.
training.
But she is also doing remarkably well with just being attributed these abilities through accidental blood transfusion, which
Blood
it's-
mixing.
which is it's a comic book thing. It doesn't bother me. It's the same thing with the Doctor Strange 2 part where they're just walking through the street and they step on these memory things that
Yeah,
show
yeah.
them their memories. It's just a way to get the visual of the memories like out in there. And it's if you can't do that in a comic book movie, then what are you doing? You're making a Christopher Nolan Batman movie. That's what
Yeah,
you're
I
doing.
think again, it's a convenient origin and it happens very quickly. But it's just like, okay, now that we've done that, let's move past that because
Yeah.
it's we don't need a whole big drawn out thing. Like we know She-Hulk is the cousin of Hulk. Let's just go.
And plus, I'd read an interview with a creator, and originally the origin was actually going to show up much later in the series. Gave that explanation.
and it says and it's a Sicarian
yeah, yep.
some type of
I had to
freighter.
double check on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that-
I
from-
think they're doing a little bit of a Planet Hulk or World War Hulk.
There's definitely
Going back.
they're definitely hinting something there with that. Which I kind of even just like it as a throwaway. Even if
Yeah.
nothing happens, it's like they planted a good seed that they could come back to.
Yeah,
and
and they
that's
don't
all.
have to. They
Yeah.
could do something else.
What else? Aaron, what else?
Did
I-
they get much into the profession side, or have
They
the
did.
first- yeah,
They started it. Yeah, yeah. There's a little bit of that. She clearly from what we've seen in the trailers that she's going to be changing her job to work for someone who wants lawyers to represent superpowered.
do you think
Individuals.
we'll see Charlie Cox come in?
Yeah, they've already they added that to the last trailer, the very end.
I've entirely missed
Yeah.
all the promo stuff for this.
The rumor is
hear that.
that might be a little. They might be a little an item. There might be a moment
really?
of yeah. That's the rumor that I hear. that,
Interesting.
Sure.
Yeah. So actually, the show starts with her going through what her,
Closing argument.
Her closing argument. Thank you, Aaron. And everybody leaves the room, and she breaks the fourth wall twice during the episode. And the first time is, all right, we're just going to get it out of the way because you're not going to be able to focus on this law show if I don't tell you how I became the She-Hulk.
Basically ripping off Zach Morris.
Yeah, and then there's one other instance where she breaks the fourth wall, where again she's training with Bruce, and she's doing so much better than Bruce. Bruce is just like, oh my gosh, he has this whole book about being the Hulk, and she's like changing everything he knows about it. And again, she turns to the camera and like makes a comment about, oh, I'm better, whatever it is. And then Hulk, but again, it was a very good aside where it's like it's breaking the fourth wall, but it's also something again you would do with your buddies. Like, can you believe this guy? So
It's
But-
well documented that the Hulk has many more issues,
yeah,
mental issues than She-Hulk.
She's over 800 issues.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's part of the thing is that
Very
he had this
good.
book ready to go with all the things that he's gone through over the years, and he's like, yes, this is a 10-year process. And
That
she's
Martin
ripping
Zinger
through the
brought to
stuff
you by
because she's
French's
a little
Classic
bit more
Mustard.
stable than he is. Comes from a different perspective on things.
yeah, so her thing is the first couple times she transforms into a Hulk, there is kind of like this blind fury, but then as Bruce kind of has her in this contained laboratory, and he's prodding at her to get her to transform in this chamber, and she transforms and she busts out of the chamber, and she Hulk's trying to calm her down. Like, what do you say? Like talking to a pet or something
yeah.
like that. And she's like, "Why are you talking to me like that?" So like,
And he's like, you're in control here?
within a couple transformations, it's like, oh, I'm in control. I wasn't at first, but now, yeah.
Which I'm sure might see slip somewhere down the way.
I would think
Yeah.
absolutely you're going to see that
That'd be
slip
bad
where there's
storytelling otherwise, I
there's
think.
going to be a super stressful, super crazy situation where she will.
When she's She-Hulk in court, in the suit, and then loses it.
The suit.
But that's her favorite. It's her favorite.
Pantsuit? I don't know.
Spandex. They call out spandex specifically. In the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's who your best friend should be is spandex.
Let's talk about feet. When I was looking up stuff on Twitter about this, I type in She-Hulk,
Oh,
and the
no.
next word is feet, and I'm like, oh, okay. So Bruce obviously isn't wearing shoes, but there's a lot of people who apparently have focused on the amount of feet time that you get from She-Hulk in the episode, and in watching it a second time, I kind of agree. It wouldn't stick out to me, but then you read it and you're like, oh, to the point where even, yeah.
This feels like a Mallrats bit.
Yeah, we're like, there's a close up of her in the courtroom at the end when Titania, what's her name, busts
You're
in.
right.
I don't even know her. Busts in. It's set up like she may have beef with whoever's on trial here, and then Jessica Walters doesn't want to reveal that she's Hulk, but her counsel knows, and she's like, you got to transform, you got to do it. So then there's the close up of her taking off her high heels, and the assistant like taking the high
Because
heels.
she doesn't want to ruin the expensive shoes.
She doesn't want to ruin the expensive shoes. But just one of those things where it's just like, oh, I guess I could see how, like, whatever, you could interpret it that way. So yeah, that was my foot fetish segment brought to you
God.
by French's Mustard.
French's mustard.
French's Mustard, everyone.
Goes great
When you
on
think
feet.
about foot-
Sorry, Aaron, I stepped on it. Oh, no pun intended there either.
When you think about foot fetish jokes, think about French's
Mustard.
classic yellow mustard. Now 40% more.
Not sponsored. We'd
all
do
right.
better if you sponsored us.
Get us back on track here, Martin. What else did we like about this episode? Was there anything we didn't like?
Let's see.
I had a great time. I can't tell you anything where I was like, no, this isn't good.
No, I liked the melding of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the John Byrne stuff with the Dan Slott more legal take on things, which I'm sure we'll get a little bit more of. I know they're not going to be concentrating heavily on accurate law depiction, but
Yeah, but I like that. I think that like the we've got a taste of it, I guess, with Daredevil, but like the legal stuff, and I think that the Daredevil's a much darker character, and where She-Hulk's just fun.
Yes.
And that's what I like. Maybe
that's one of the things I do find annoying. Just some of the comments and things I'm reading about that. The fact that it's the big problem with this is it's a comedy. It's supposed to be an action show. It's supposed to be
But-
like everything else Marvel has tried to put out. And
But that's the She-Hulk book, though, is
Yeah.
that it's humor driven, and yes, you're a big giant superwoman who fights people, but like it's much more humorous.
Yeah.
I want it to do well because it makes me think that you'll be able to do more with other Hulk characters
Yep.
that haven't ever seen any light. Or once in a blue moon, it's like, oh, maybe we'll see a Red Hulk or
Oh, I think we will.
That'd be great.
We have to see a Red Hulk,
I
right?
think so.
I think that's. What
I think all the people complaining about Smart Hulk will be very happy when we get one
What
of the
are
more
the-
savage.
I really like
versions coming
Smart
up.
Hulk.
What are
I
the
enjoy
complaints
Smart
about
Hulk.
Smart Hulk?
He's less powerful. It's a weaker version. We want to see him just smash things brainlessly. I don't know why.
I
I always liked when Bruce stayed as the Hulk though, but kept his intelligence. It was a much more interesting take because if
For me.
you want to see like the ridiculous Hulk smash, you can get all the Savage Hulk, you can get all the the Maestros, that kind of stuff.
Joe
where he's
Fix-It.
just completely unhinged.
Yeah.
that was the Hulk I grew up with, though. Like the first Hulk comics
Joe
I had
Fix-
were not Joe Fix It,
No,
but the Smart Hulk. Like
yeah.
I think when he fought Juggernaut.
Which I think the whole premise of Hulk is that it's this gamma radiation change is always a possibility type thing that they've exploited quite a few times in the comics to keep things fresh.
Actually, that's an interesting point. My first Hulk is also a Smart Hulk with the Peter David stuff when he was in Pantheon,
Yeah.
Mine was not.
and so I guess that's what I was.
That's my primary. That's my
Yeah.
primary
yeah. That's
exposure though.
and I didn't read a ton of Hulk back in the day, but I
Me
do
either.
I do remember reading some of that Peter David. Although I also remember reading Maestro when that series came out, and I did not own Maestro.
Future Imperfect.
Future Imperfect, yes. But my friend Jason Shug had it. Shout out to Jason Shug.
But yeah, the She-Hulk it seems like a promising road to go down, especially with the money that they have and the ability to commit to characters that maybe aren't seeing the light that they need to these days.
Martin, visual effects. Aaron, visual effects. Did you notice anything? Or?
Everything's
zero
better than
problems.
from the first trailer. Obviously, they went through and worked on that. The problem with having so much Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff out there that we've seen for over a decade is we expect the huge, expensive movie quality special effects, and I think that in some areas that might have been like what Prey was victim to, was that you have television money, and I think it looks great for television.
Oh, definitely. It looks amazing.
I had very few problems.
I heard, and I didn't notice this, but I did hear that with the CGI, there were some things that like took you out of the moment where like her hair. Actually, I didn't realize. It took me a second watch to realize her hair grew longer
Grew
when she turned
longer,
into She-Hulk. But like there were some things I guess that like maybe parts of her are moving and parts of her are not, or something like that, or. I guess where you have to suspend your belief for a little bit, and then it's also I think we talked about the Hulk CGI. I think is so drilled in at this point in time that like they probably have that down to a science. Where She-Hulk maybe they're still trying to figure out exactly.
Well,
how
it's a new model. Like with
Yeah.
the Hulk thing, it's a very complex model, but they can essentially reskin it, retexture it, like push it for lighting again. Whereas the She-Hulk thing, they had to develop it totally new off of a new person, and they've been working with Mark Ruffalo now for 10 years, right?
Also, there's like the whole Uncanny Valley factor too, because we're looking at her, expecting her to be a regular looking woman, and then you have this green effect over it. You're making her bigger, so that like when you're looking at Thanos is a monster type figure, so you're more forgiving on that than you would be for an actual human person.
Yeah, I do think She-Hulk over time. I think in the comics in the beginning she was a more of a hulking, brutish
yeah.
figure, but over time I think she just becomes a Amazonian, beautiful but large green woman. And
I think during her Avengers run, it was she owns the fact that she's a Hulk and she starts to embrace it and have this better relationship with it, so that it's more of her personality coming through.
yeah.
She starts to enjoy being the She-Hulk.
Yes.
Which I also liked in the first episode the reluctance to be the Hulk.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Bruce
I
Bruce
wanna
is
be a
trying to
hero.
convince her that like your life as a lawyer is over. Now you're gonna have a target on your back. Like you have powers and abilities that like you serve a better purpose. And she's like, I just kind of want a lawyer. Like not interested in becoming a superhero. But by the end there, obviously with the showdown in the courtroom where she shows everybody her feet, I think she realizes that I gotta
Become
be
a foot
hero.
model.
Yes.
It's a twist in the story.
Martin, what else?
Overall, I liked the message that they're trying to convey. I think they balanced it nicely with making the strong female character who
What's the message?
that
Sometimes I feel like I'm going under. Wait, how's that go? Because don't push me. I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Ha 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 ha.
Can you repeat that?
No, that's the message by Grandmaster Flash. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I should have got that.
Get too much closer than that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get a DMC.
Oh, yeah.
I also flubbed the lyrics a little bit, so
Okay,
I think
that's
I'm
good.
okay.
That's-
That's why we don't need to repeat it.
I don't think. Do you think that? I don't think that's a thing.
It's a thing.
Is it?
Twitch
Yeah.
is-
Oh well, I don't know.
it'll
Are we still up?
VODs,
Facebook likes to do that.
We'll just blame it on Lucas.
You know, if they ever did, like
Where is
they
Lucas?
have Howard the Duck.
He's in a well.
Yeah, Lassie tried to rescue him. So if you ever had, so
Tootsie
Howard the
tried to.
Duck, if you ever had a She-Hulk analog as poultry, you could do She-Honk, and it'd be a green goose. She-Honk.
Like there's a Thor frog. There could be.
Why is it not 6 o'clock yet?
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Marvel, if you're listening, let's do the She-Honk.
about Spider-Gwen just a little while ago, and as it got more popular in terms of its character, do any of you think that there's a worry that if She-Hulk suddenly becomes popular, they will try and change the name She-Hulk to a regular?
Oh, I would hope
like a
not.
Character name.
Okay, so yeah.
Like
I hope
book-
not.
The book title could potentially change to something so it's not She-Hulk.
Jessica Walters, She-Hulk,
Attorney at law.
attorney at law.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
It'd be like
that's-
changing Spider-Man to like Spidey or Spudman.
In the changing state of Marvel's print stuff, you never quite know. I thought it was just a little aside.
They better not change. That doesn't make any sense. Why put the effort into that? It's already well-known property. They just invested so
Why
much.
did they bother just errantly changing the names of things on a whim?
Or the logos of famous, well-known properties that they own. Punisher.
Well, just
Well-
change it to change sake, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if that was a joke or not, but we know why they changed the Punisher logo. Aaron, what are you working on?
Oh, me? I was just working on. Are you gonna switch over to the old Doc Cami? So I did a little doodle of some Savage She-Hulk. It's just a little corner box. I mean, it's not exact, but I just was working on that just real quick in this little sketchbook.
Screen over here.
I love the size of this sketchbook. I've been doing a ton of stuff in this lately, but a little moleskin sketchbook, about, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches by
10?
a 6 or 7, like 4 or 6. Oh, hey, look, there's a dinosaur. But yeah, She-Hulk. Just a little quick She-Hulk sketch there.
Dinosaur.
Just working with him.
Called featuring Devil Dinosaur.
That would be a good book. I think that would be all right.
Did you draw any of her feet?
No, just her head.
Oh, okay.
I'll draw that later. Alone.
I'll watch
I
any
don't
other
know.
She-Hulk movie.
Do we have any final She-Hulk notes here before we call it a day?
I enjoyed it. I liked
Immensely,
all
yeah.
I liked all
Yeah.
the stuff with Mark Ruffalo. I felt like there were really no missteps for me in terms of being entertained. Even my wife liked it, and she doesn't like all the Marvel stuff.
It's both Patrick and hashtag Stuff Mary Lou says approved. Patrick loved it a lot, actually. He was laughing his head off. So
Especially the end, like when they get into some mythology with Captain
yeah.
America.
How great is that post-credit scene? So
That's She-Hulk in a nutshell, that scene.
they're talking, Bruce and her earlier in the episode
spoilers.
are getting drunk at the
Too late.
so they're in the secret Mexico base.
I love that. I love the Gamma base too. It's
that-
awesome.
That Tony Stark built for
That
Bruce.
just it just makes it so much better because
Yeah.
you can just envision.
Gamma base and bar.
Yeah.
But they're at their little tiki bar drinking, and she's just talking about. You can tell she's in love with Captain America, and America's ass and everything like that. And you don't get the full context of what she's saying, but it's you can tell she's implying is Steve Rogers a version.
A version of what? Captain
a
America?
version of Captain America.
A version, yes, that's what he said.
That's
And
true.
just how tragic that is that an American hero with America's ass, died a virgin. So cut to the end of the show, and they're back at the tiki bar. They've gone back in time, and she's drunk, and she's just again, and you can tell Bruce doesn't want to tell the story, but finally he's like, "All right, look, it was a USO show in 1943, where she came backstage. And, like he's Steve Rogers is not a virgin, and Jessica Walters just lights up and goes, "Oh my gosh, Captain America!" And they cut
And
it
add it
like
right
right there. But it was just such a funny ending.
Do we know who that USO showgirl was?
So the USO showgirl was actually Quill's mother.
The actress who played in both Captain America,
Okay.
And so
First Avenger, and she had then played Quill's mother
so
later.
then the online thing is Captain America lost his virginity to Quill's mother.
or grandmother.
Grandmother.
Well, the timeline doesn't make sense for mother, but they made the argument grandmother. So what a great reference that like potentially Captain America lost his virginity to Quill's grandmother is like I don't know. It's just the way it's ended with like Captain America and they just cut it. Oh, it's great.
Another thing you did like was the end credits, the courtroom sketch art.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
courtroom sketch art
yeah.
at the end.
I
that
love
was-
it when they do that.
Was very cartoony, also though. That like was just a great blend of like you
The
could
comic and the.
I love it
and
when
the
it's not
courtroom
like
drawing.
just tracing a photo, like they just do like an AI
Yeah,
process
yeah.
where they just trace photos. It's actual. I don't know if it's concept art for the show or made specifically for the.
I
Credits,
would think it was
but I
made
love
specifically
it's
for the
probably-
credits. It was.
yeah.
It was
Paid a courtroom artist to do.
Come in and do it.
Ooh. One thing I really liked in the courtroom scene is they're paying across it, and they have a courtroom sketch artist working on one of the Surface Studios.
Oh, that's
Oh,
funny.
I didn't notice that.
there. So I was like, ooh, that's and my wife was like, I bet you want to switch jobs now. I was like, I mean, if the pay is right, I mean that's still a government job.
Hey, I think we're.
I'll draw people in the courtroom. I don't care.
I think we've come to an end of She-Hulk here. Martin, do you have any closing thoughts? You have a
Nope.
closing argument?
Closing art. Oh, would have been clever if you did that right off the bat.
Well, sometimes these things take a few
Um,
seconds to process.
I think it's a fun show. I think that you should check it out, and you should check out some She-Hulk comics, including the new series that is, I think, up to about issue 6 now.
I was going to say 5, 6
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Who
Aaron,
knows with Marvel delays now?
our Peanut Gallery. Is any final comments from the Peanut Gallery?
She-Hulk, not Shulk.
Not Shulk. Aaron.
That's a character from a different franchise entirely.
I like the show. If you don't like the show, don't sue me.
And yeah, I think that's it. You wanna just take us home?
You've been listening to The Comic Shop tries to do a podcast, and sometimes we succeed. With me, Aaron Z. Lee.
I am single green female, and
I am still here against my will.
have a good night, everybody.